Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demi-planes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. Our first release this week is Arcane Dominion, a post-apocalypse campaign creation package from Penguin Comics, on sale for $13.95, normally $17.95. It's 180 pages, author 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙤 Lindstrom, and it's with this 180 pages, it's going to give you what you need to make this post-apocalyptic setting come to life for any system, because this is system agnostic. So it says the Dungeon Master that needs adventure seeds, a major conspiracy, locations, event and loot tables, NPCs, and tons of other things is going to get what they need out of this. So you can use it as a base for a larger campaign in a desert wasteland. So it's got a detailed world with large settlements, one that's low-tech, one that's high-tech, with lots of detailed locations, NPCs, side quests, all that good stuff, so that you can basically run with this with, if you want to use your modern stuff, if you want to use, you could probably use even a fantasy, tweak it a little bit and use it with fantasy D&D or even some other game, Pathfinder or whatever, right? So the preview looks a little different because it's a publisher preview, so don't mind that. But you can see it's got a really nice layout. Here's the main story. Gives you the publisher preview, kind of jumps through the book so you can see different little pieces. Here's a detail on a place called Remy's Shop. And then there's a High Noon Bar. So yeah, you could convert these to like taverns and other types of shops too if you wanted to. A character named Sophia. And this is the Hall's Church of Selima. And here's a table. Part of a table. It says the adventurers find themselves lost in a vast, confusing maze. A small village is being threatened by a dangerous animal. The adventurers find themselves in the middle of a deadly race. That could be fun, like Death Race 2000 or something. It says embark on a journey through Arcane Dominion, a comprehensive campaign creation kit. So very cool and fun artwork in here. So let's read a little bit about some of these places. Let's go back up here and read about Remy's Shop. It says, Remy's Shop is a quaint little store located at the edge of Sagebrush Springs. The building itself is weathered and worn, with a wooden sign hanging above the entrance that creaks in the wind. Inside, the shelves are lined with all sorts of goods, from canned food to ammunition to handmade trinkets. Remy himself is a grizzled old man with a bushy gray beard, always wearing a stained apron and a friendly grin. He's known for his sharp wit and even sharper prices, making him a popular figure among the town's residents. However, some whisper that he has a dark past and that his shop is a front for shadier dealings. So, interesting character. And if this is a post-apocalyptic world, in present day, like, The Walking Dead or something, you're going to need to negotiate with people. You're going to have everybody you encounter that's not whatever the threat is in your post-apocalyptic setting. You're going to have to really consider, because there aren't going to be as many people around if there's been an apocalypse, right? So it says inside the shop, the walls are lined with shelves filled with all kinds of supplies, from camping gear and survival tools to basic medical supplies and equipment. Remy is a tough and no-nonsense man who knows the desert like the back of his hand. He always has a story or two to share about her experiences in the wilderness and is happy to offer advice to anyone who needs it. There are a few dangers associated with Remy's shop, as it is located on the edge of town and sometimes attracts unsavory characters looking to purchase weapons. So yeah, you have to be careful if you're there. Then you got the High Noon Bar. It says High Noon Bar is a popular drinking spot in Sagebush Springs run by a tough woman named Maria. The exterior of the bar is decorated with weathered wood panels and a faded High Noon sign hanging above the entrance. Maria is known for her no-nonsense attitude and sharp wit. The bar is a popular spot for locals and travelers alike and is always bustling with activity. And so some of the dangers are brawls between patrons can break out at any time, leading to broken furniture and potential injuries. The bar can attract some unsavory characters. Poison drinks. A rival gang slips poison into the drinks of the High Noon Bar's patrons, so you got to watch for that. I mean, there's a lot going on that you got to watch out for in a post-apocalyptic setting. I mean, the fact that they can keep some semblance of a bar running, though, is some credit to Maria here. And then you've got a character named Sophia. Sophia is the town's main farmer, responsible for growing and harvesting most of the town's crops. She's a no-nonsense woman with a sharp tongue and a quick wit, but is fiercely protective of her community. Sophia has a stocky build, green, mysterious eyes, and wears her hair braided. Even though Sophia is the town's farmer, she is still a shrewd businesswoman. She is highly intelligent and adept at negotiating, but lacks combat skills. But she's got a combat knife, and she's knowledgeable in farming, nature, plants, and the climate. So surviving out there in this post-apocalyptic setting. So yeah, you're going to be able to take all these little things, put them into your own setting, or pick and choose different pieces, because you get 24 locations, 75 side quests, 21 loot tables, and of course artwork to inspire you for the setting. So check it out. It's under Arcane Dominion in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Barkeep on the Borderlands by Prismatic Wasteland and author W.F. Smith. It is for OSR, but I was looking through this earlier, and I feel like it's more location neutral or system agnostic, however you want to refer to it. So I think you could probably use it for 5th edition or pretty much any fantasy game. Anyway, it's $10 for 60 pages. And it says, what if carousing in fantasy taverns were its own adventure? Barkeep on the Borderlands is a bar-hopping fantasy adventure amidst Mardi Gras-like festivities, including 20 detailed pubs and dynamic drinking rules. It flips the script on the tired trope of starting in a tavern. In this adventure, players explore the many taverns of the keep in search of a missing antidote, getting into shenanigans along the way. The pub crawl is like a dungeon crawl, but with bars and streets instead of rooms and corridors. So, pretty cool stuff, and I'm loving the artwork as you go through here. So you get the 20 detailed taverns with unique premises like a speakeasy run by cultists, an undead dance club, a gambling den for kobold gangsters, or a cozy bar in a witch's cottage. Then there's 36 character backgrounds for potential pub crawlers, 5 intertwined factions vying for control of the keep for the player characters to interact with, including a wizard academy, a cult of chaos, and an NGO run by goblins, a timeline detailing a precarious political situation that the players can interact with and disrupt, over 100 full-color illustrations with some on every page, grand total of 100 random tables with 745 total results to facilitate endless sessions of adventures in a fantasy city. You can see how cool it looks. But it's a site-based adventure, just like a classic dungeon crawl, but instead of rooms and hallways, characters traverse bars and city streets. Each pub is modular and can be used separately and dropped into any existing campaign. It's designed to be system neutral and can be easily adapted to fit most systems, including Old School Essentials, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Black Hack, 5e, Pathfinder, Worlds Without Number, all of those, right? So yeah, there is a good team on this, it looks like, because I mean the art is really fun. Like, I love this cover, very playful. And looking inside, there's no exception inside as well too. I mean, look at this artwork as well. It looks so nice. It says strict time records must be kept that keeps pubs open and starts serving drinks at 1700 each day and close at 2 in the morning. Last call for drinks is at 1. Referee tracks time in hours as the jolly crew enjoys the keep's nightlife. The pub crawl procedure on page 18 details when to advance the time by 1 hour. The referee may use their dice to display the current time. The people of the keep are a punctual sort. Each tower along the keep's walls has a bell that rings every hour. Cool, so there's some nice in-story mechanics to keep track of the time, and also, this bell ringing every hour can be like a in-game, in-story way of relating to the timekeeping for the players, so it doesn't seem out of place to all of a sudden say, you have X hours left, the referee saying that. And then it says, what do you do when not drinking? The question has puzzled the keep's greatest minds for centuries. Some controversial hypotheses follow. Hypotheses, so they go through that. Like rumors and research, hunting trips, shopping spree, etc. So then it gives you the point crawl procedure. So it says, begin using this procedure when the keep's pubs open each day. The jolly crew starts each night at the closest pub. If they are far away from the keep at 1700, add 1 hour to the time, and they can begin at one of the outermost pubs of their choice. It says the pub crawl proceeds in turns. Each turn represents an abstract, indeterminate length of time necessary to complete a simple activity, such as ordering drinks, flirting, brawling, bumming smokes, or something similarly time-consuming. At the start of each turn, the referee describes what is happening and any changes since the last turn. Players may ask any questions of the referee, which they will answer according to what the characters would know. If the characters would not reasonably know the answer, the referee may tell them how they can find out. Each turn, the jolly crew takes one action, individually or collectively, and each jolly crewmate rolls their sobriety die. Moving between pubs may take a few turns as shown on the map. After the jolly crew resolves their actions, the referee rolls a risk die to determine what else happens during that turn. And so then you see the results, and then there could be setbacks and obviously drinking. And here's the sobriety die chain. And then the drinking rules as you go through the process. Sobering up, hangovers, blackouts. I mean, you're going to have to deal with all those things. Then you got Granny's Cottage here, which is a dive bar. This is a quaint dive bar, and then it's got information on what's going on there. So you have the guests and the sidetrack. So Granny adopted the ogre bartender as an ogre cub. They lack the knack to learn witchcraft, but they can fix a mean drink. And that's just one of 6 options for the guests there. But then on sidetracks, we're going to read one of 11 options. So it says, a hobgoblin wizard teaches the straw to gold spell to those who guess their name. They teleport away after 3 tries. It's Harold. So you can try to guess this hobgoblin wizard's name and learn a spell if you do. And that's just, again, one of 11. So there's other ones like a domestic servant, and there are 1d6 pet mice seek a fairy godparent to magic them into a proper romantic match for the heir. So you can see some more interesting stuff here about Granny's Cottage. So it says, what is Granny doing? Signature drinks, situations that can occur. So this is just one of the many pubs that you would crawl through, right? So it says Granny is baking a gingerbread golem. She needs rat's milk for the frosting, but has none. So that could lead to something, right? Again, one of 6 options. Then it says signature drinks, the glass slipper, a vodka drink served in a shoe, available only before midnight. And that makes sense because it seems inspired by Cinderella. Situations, a polite and helpful gremlin is jonesing for one of Granny's confectionery treats. They'll do anything for a taste, but grow hyper-violent if their request is granted. So that's a fun one. And you've got it's unhappy hour for the next hour. All drinks are double price and half strength. Take advantage on the sobriety die. And you've got a distraught damsel smashes a magic mirror that gave an unwelcome answer. A shard answers a single simple question. So, I mean, this is filled with little magic things happening. You could take this stuff even outside of doing this pub crawl and either have just have Granny's Cottage somewhere in your campaign setting, or you could take some of the side tracks that are happening and put them in a pub in your setting. I mean, there's a lot going on in this book, and I can only imagine with 20 different pubs the diversity of things that are going to be going on, the diversity of proprietors, the diversity of sidetracks and guests and things that could be going on. And you can mix and match those into your own 5th edition Pathfinder, OSR campaigns, right? And then, of course, you can play through this whole thing because it sounds like a fun point crawl as well. I mean, you're trying to find an antidote and you're having to go from one bar to the next, and each one is going to be different. You know, we looked at a dive bar, but there's 20 different ones. So, you know, I'm not sure if you get through all 20 in one adventure. I think it probably picks an assortment, but in any case, it's going to be fun. So I think you should look for it in the video description links under Barkeep on the Borderlands and give it a click. Next, we have Book of Blades, expanding the Paladin for 5th edition from Kobold Press, authors Bashir Gauss, Jeff Quick, and Brian Susskind. I love this cover. It perfectly illustrates a Paladin protecting some folks from some ne'er-do-well. And it's $4.99 for 16 pages. And it's part 6 of the series. So they've had a series really honing in on the Paladin and just trying to bring some new stuff to the Paladin. And it says, no other class goes big like the Paladin. Spells and swords have never gone together better than in this high AC package. Divine Smite lays waste to foes and lay on hands divinely empowers friends. Now, see a new take on the Paladin in this 16-page tome. Inside, you'll find historical and fictional inspiration to help the GM, be inspired. And then you've got 2 new subclasses: fight using lessons from history and brutal fiery destruction. You've got battle tactics, give all martial characters new ways to inspire their allies and cow their enemies. And that's not even all of it. Take a solemn oath to make a melee amazing with this book. So, and then there's a bundle down here where you can get some other Book of Blades where they're talking about other types like the Ranger, the Monk, and the Fighter, expanding those. So this one's been about the Paladin, and you can get them all together. And we've looked at one of the other ones before, and they're just always good. Kobold is just quality publisher, so you can always expect goodness from them. So you've got the introduction, the fine line of a Paladin tactics, and then character options. So the new subclass is called the Oath of Memory, and we're going to get to see a little bit about that one. And then there's another one as well called Oath of Ash, which sounds good. So we'll read both of those. So the Oath of Memory is an oath of heralds and martyrs. Legends have been passed down through the ages whose simple remembrance spurs warriors on to feats of heroism. Its adherents are a varied lot, from living embodiments of storybook ideals to cultured warrior scholars learned in the traditions of a dozen languages, to insular knights so steeped in centuries of in-jokes and literary references that they are near incomprehensible to strangers. All are champions of ancient lines, not merely for their memory, but for the virtues and cultural impact they have on the living. So that's an interesting take on these. I think that'll be a fun thing to role play. They've got these ideals that are sort of storybook, and they've just learned all these different things from different languages, and so they're just full of knowledge. Because they're focused on memory, of course, right? And so they have various tenets like exalt others to provoke virtue. You must exalt it as it occurs, publicly praise others for their good works, and even admit virtue from your foes. So that could be fun. Maybe your paladin's fighting an enemy, and you notice that they're really good at using a sword. So you can say, you've got quality swordsmanship here. It's a good virtue to have, or whatever, right? As you're fighting, and your party members are like, "What is that person doing over there?" Complimenting our enemies, but you're upholding your tenets, right? It's got remember the fallen. Too often martyrs are forgotten by happenstance. Spread the memory of those that have fallen in your adventures, not merely for their ends, but for the lives they lived and the ideals they stood for. So again, that could be fun. Maybe you take an opportunity to tell an NPC about someone who passed away, or if somebody has left the party and a new player is joining the table, then maybe your character's kind of filling them in on how somebody died, or maybe a character died or something, right? So you get spells, of course. You get your channel divinity. It says you gain the following 2 channel divinity options. So tactical brilliance, as an action, you may perform any battle tactic with an activation time of 1 action or less, even if you do not have the battle tactician feat, by spending a spell slot of a spell level equal to its point cost. This does not count against your 1 battle tactic per short rest. As a bonus action, you recite the legend of an ancient hero and channel their legendary skills. For 10 minutes, you have proficiency in 2 skills of your choice. If you already have proficiency in a chosen skill, you double your proficiency bonus with it. So yeah, those could be really helpful. Doubling your proficiency bonus is always good. So we'll skip some of the levels because I want you to read some of this on your own. So it says at 15th level, the memory of your chant continues even after you fall. Battle tactics you use last for the full duration, even if you are knocked unconscious. So that's good. Keep on fighting. It says at 20th level, as an action, you can take on the unmistakable mien of a paladin of legend whose tales you know well. In this state, you stride unhindered across the battlefield, and all allies who look upon you know your command. For 1 minute, you gain the following benefits. Your walking speed increases to 50 feet. You gain the effects of the freedom of movement spell. You cannot be moved unless you wish to move. And you can use any 2 battle tactics of your choice, regardless of whether you know them, at no cost. Once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. So very, very, very helpful. I mean, I could see that really coming in handy at 20th level, all these different things that you get to do. So nice job, as usual, from Kobold Press. So we'll just read a little bit about the Oath of Ash, so you know about that as well. It says, it's a simple oath, as old as nations and hatred. To take this oath is to dedicate yourself to self-destructive loathing for someone or something. Its adherents are evil, either knowingly or by degree. As their oath turns their lives towards its central truth, everything burns. The Oath of Ash is the oath of total warfare, burned villages, slaughtered innocents, salted fields, and the ruin of nations, even one's own. Because victory is not enough, survival is optional. This oath exalts gods of murder, warfare, or the baleful sun, an aspect of the sun in its role as bringer of drought and wildfire. To the devotees of Ash, the only thing that matters is ensuring that your foe dies so thoroughly that generations to come remember them only as a warning. So very, very cool. I like that. It's I like that, just the feel of these. They're so different, and I feel like it'd be so easy to roleplay these because they give you this cool vibe, this ash, and they go well together because one's about sort of memory and the other one's about the ashes, and I don't know. I mean, both kind of involve time in a way. So cool stuff as usual. You got to keep up with Kobold Press. They're always putting out good stuff, and they're developing a new way to play 5th edition called Black Flag. It's its own game that is going to be backwards compatible. So looking forward to that as well. So get into it. Look for Book of Blades in the links below and give it a click. Next we have Delver, issue 7, resources for random rolling referees. And it's for use with OSR, old school essentials, etc. But as usual with the Delver title, which we've looked at before, because it is like a zine, it can be used for other things beyond OSR. It's got some really fun reference stuff in it. So in this one, it's got random charts and tables related to an alchemy shop, a secret society, a rampaging construct, a for hire section, Griffin Claw auction house, Delver Society scrolls, Tome of Obsidian pages. I mean, just tons of stuff. They're always packed. It's $10 for 48 pages of goodness. And here right away we start with the alchemy shop. So we'll just pretend to roll a 3 on everything here. So the alchemist's name is Jaster Thorn, who has 1d8 plus 4 times 50 gold coins. And the color is amber flame in the bottle, And the key ingredient is a 𝙤𝙘𝙧𝙬𝙧 Dreamwort. And its ability is that it's called Feather Load. It doubles max encumbrance for 6 hours. So you could see how you could easily work some of these into any really D&D based game. You've got other ones in here like Eagle Eye, +1 to hit with any ranged weapon, any target within 120 feet. Next spell cast can be done silently. I mean, yeah, all of these could be worked for 5th edition as well. Secret Society of Evil. So we'll roll a 4 on these. Coven of the Dark Betrayer is the name we came up with the first 2 tables. And then the complication is they conduct forbidden magic, and they have a symbol of a blight rune on a blade. And they're currently searching for the Death's Head ring, which summons and controls dead spirits. But again, we're just pretending to roll a number on these charts. There's so many options. And then for the Rampaging Construct, let's pretend to roll a 6. It says that the target is a spellcaster. The identifier is Fire Glow from the eyes. Its weakness is magic weapons, which means double damage is dealt with that. And its strength is tougher. It's got +1d8 hit points. And then if we're rolling, we picked a 4 on those 2 tables because there's only 4, even though we went with 6. But down here it says Fearless. So it gets a modification to its stat block from that. And then there's some for hire section here. So this would be something that you'd find on a notice board. It says, as darkness descends each day upon our village, we find ourselves in dire need of brave adventurers to aid us in our time of crisis. The surrounding forests, once teeming with life, have become overrun with a group of undead ones. Our homes are no longer safe, and our children can no longer play outside without fear of attack. So yeah, they're going to need some help. There's a whole thing you can read, ends with, please will you come to our aid? And this could be a note slipped to the party. It could be a note on the notice board, as I said, however you want to do it. And again, that works for any role-playing game. You don't have to have stats for that from any one particular game. So I just love this series because I feel like the value is exponential, because even though it's billed as OSR, which is great to play as well, you have lots of options to use this. And so anytime we get a book where you can use it in multiple places, multiple ways, I'm always excited by that, because you got to make your money go as far as it can, right? So a found pack thief, and it just shows you all the things inside the pack that you could find, and then the various values that you can roll. And so this could be like the thief stealing stuff, or it could be what they find on a thief. And then Griffin Claw Auction House. So lot number 33, a deck of cards. And then how do you beat the bid? What you'd have to basically roll. So you'd roll that, and you would know as the GM what they have to beat, and then they have to try to bid and see if they beat that sort of line in the sand that you have. So just fun things. You got auction houses and alchemy shops and rampaging constructs, and we haven't even scratched the surface. This is 8 pages out of 48, so there's 40 more pages of fun stuff in here. So I would definitely recommend getting this one. It's $10 for those 48 pages. I'm adding it to my wish list, but I hope you check it out. It's in the links below under Delver. Give it a click. Next, we've got exotic equipment perks from Crit Academy, and they've got a PDF for $14.99, hardcover standard color for $29.99, or you can get both for $34.99. And authors Justin Hanlon, 𝙒𝙤𝙘𝙀𝙀, and Brandon Gray. And as I said, it's for 5th edition. And, Crit Academy always does fun stuff. You can see some of their other titles down here at the bottom. They're just really good at coming up with things that help DMs and players alike. And they're very creative. And they have a really fun YouTube channel too. So you should come down here, check out the video, give them a sub, all that goodness. Because I want them to just keep doing great stuff. It says, one of the best parts of a role-playing game is building of characters. Character backstory, class abilities, race, skills, and combat are all different aspects that can be loved by players. In 5th edition, it tends to get clumped into a simple not enough options category. In 5e, the single largest lackluster choice is the weapon. There isn't much in the way of uniqueness to separate them, except for maybe the damage die and a few restricting traits. Not to mention, some of the weapon stats are literally exactly the same. To an extent, this can also be true for armor as well. Aside from the bonus to AC, there really isn't a reason to wear any particular piece of armor. Well, exotic equipment perks hopes to remedy that. We want you to make your choice of equipment matter just as much as the other choices such as class, race, or skills. Weapons and equipment should be more than just objects that adventurers carry to slay enemies and protect themselves. In the proper hands of a master, they should be powerful tools to gain the upper hand in battle. In order to remedy this, we present to you exotic equipment perks. So you find 36 weapon perks, 12 new exotic weapons with perks, 16 new armor perks, 6 new exotic armors with perks, and 10 toolkit perks. Oh, they even covered toolkits. That's awesome. So let's look inside. So you get to see the chart of the weapons here that are going to be involved in this stuff, and then you start getting into some of the simple melee weapons. So it says club, largely considered to be the earliest of weapons. The tried and true club comes in a variety of shapes and sizes intended to inflict blunt force trauma. Legend claims an ancient clan of barbarians made a game of knocking each other in the head with a club until one of their group fell unconscious. Some days I feel like I've played that game. Passed down from generation to generation, this long tradition of knocking each other senseless eventually perfected the club fighting techniques widely known today. No matter the changing times and battle tactics, the club has remained a staple in both conflicts and contests throughout time immemorial. So it does damage 1d4 bludgeoning. Its properties are light. Now here's where you get into, I believe, the new stuff. So dizzying blow. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack with this weapon on a hit, you can forgo the normal weapon damage. If you do, you deal damage equal to your strength modifier, and the target must succeed on a con saving throw or become blinded until the end of their next turn. So, right, that makes it different. I mean, before it was just this stuff right here, the bludgeoning, the light property, right, in terms of how much it weighs, etc. But, and categorization, I guess. But now you got this dizzying blow perk. So that's cool. I like that. And then down here we got the dagger. So it says the dagger is a versatile weapon that is used in a wide variety of cultures, fighting styles, and levels of experience. Because it is such a widespread and well-established weapon, it is difficult to pinpoint its origins. It's quite possible that it began as a simple farming tool that eventually took on more sinister implications. However, given that it is not typically used for farming purposes in their current state, it is also theorized they were always intended as weapons and may have been an early precursor to their larger counterparts, swords. So I like that they're also trying to give you the origins of these weapons. I mean, you can use that as like an NPC that's selling these weapons, like explaining that. You can use it as maybe if you have a character that's an aficionado of weapons and has studied the history, or if you even have just like a sage character or historian, maybe they see it and they go, oh, let me tell you about daggers and the history of them, and then you go from there. Whatever you want to do. It's nice that they're giving you lore. I wouldn't have expected lore. If you told me about this book, I wouldn't have expected lore for like simple melee weapons, but to me that's a bonus. I love that. So you get two options here. One is hidden weapon. As a bonus action, you can make a sleight of hand check against your opponent's insight. On a success, you can seal up to 2 daggers when you make a melee weapon attack with a hidden dagger against a creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat. You can re-roll chosen damage dice up to your proficiency bonus. You must use the new rolls. If you make a weapon attack with a hidden weapon, the attack has its critical hit range increased by 1. For example, if you normally score a critical hit on a 20, you now score a critical hit with a 19 or 20. So yeah, that's super helpful. And I like this whole, if they haven't taken a turn in combat restriction, that's cool. And then, bonus action usage, because it doesn't seem that there's always a lot of bonus action opportunities. So having another one of those is good. Cheap shot. When a creature within 5 feet of you is hit by a critical hit, you can exploit the distraction. You can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature. So if you're really close when a critical hit happens, you can exploit it. So I like that. This makes sense, and that's going to be way different than a club, right? So the club is letting you switch what type of damage it does. These are taking advantage of crits, right? So very different, and those are just a few. And then you've got Great Club here, the hand axe, light hammer, javelin, mace. So you're getting to see quite a bit of the simple melee weapons. So I love that. And let's just look at one more perk, because I do want you to look at some of this on your own and make the decision. But I'm excited by this, and it's really cool, especially that you can get a print on demand as well as a PDF. So for the light hammer, they have cold cock. When a creature within 20 feet of you casts a spell, you can use your reaction to make a ranged weapon attack against the creature. On a successful hit, your weapon deals bludgeoning damage equal to your strength modifier. The creature must succeed on a con saving throw, or its spell is delayed as if it took the ready action until the start of its next turn. So you can basically make it punished for trying to cast a spell, and that's just with the light hammer, right? And each of these is unique, and I like that they kind of pick the weapon and put it with that weapon, and they didn't like give you sort of this smorgasbord and say, okay, here's all these perks that you can pick and put on your weapons. You could mix it up as a DM, but what I think is important with this is making sure daggers always do the same things and clubs always do the same things. If you're differentiating them right, if you start making you can pick one of these, then that would make it hard to make them really feel distinct. So I do like the design decision they made, which was assigning these things rather than leaving it open. But as I'm saying, you could, as a DM, switch them as long as it's consistent, or you could even maybe take some of these abilities and put them on brand new weapons, or maybe you're in a campaign that doesn't have, for whatever reason, doesn't have daggers. And so you take those dagger abilities and you put them on some other weapon, right? So lots of value to be had here. I think the pricing is good too. You're going to get a lot for your money with this to make those weapons interesting. These weapons have been around forever. A lot of them since previous editions, right? Why not shake things up, make it interesting? So let's support Crit Academy and purchase exotic equipment perks. It's linked in the video description. Give it a click. Next, we have The Streets Beyond the Veil with its gorgeous cover. It's explore the spirit realm of 𝘼𝙬 City, which is an arcane punk setting for 5th edition. And I've always enjoyed this setting. I mean, there's been a number of books from Beyond the Screen and 𝘼𝙬𝙗 and others that have come out for this setting, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's very creative, looks cool, and this seems to be no exception. So it's $5.95, normally $7.99. And as I said, 𝘼𝙬𝙗 is one of the authors. You got Sashar Bieber and Daniel Beveridge as well. 27 pages, 5th edition. It says, where humanoids gather, spirits follow. These ephemeral residents are not recognized by the city council. Their names are not found in ledgers or tomes, but regardless, they have developed a society, one that reflects the city's deepest conflicts and power struggles, but also the desires, hopes, and dreams of its people. It's time to step into the spirit realm. So you've got the City of Wonders, which is an overview of 𝘼𝙬 and presents information for both the players and the GMs. You've got The Streets Beyond the Veil, features the ethereal plane of 𝘼𝙬 and provides additional rules to create adventures set in the spirit realm. It also presents 4 spirit courts: Court Lyrical, Morning Court, Court Fortitude, and the Court of the Revered. Each court has its own agenda, leader, domain, and story seeds. And I want to point out that if you click our link to Streets Beyond the Veil, you can also explore this bundle down here to get 4 of the books in the 𝘼𝙬 City series, each one devoted to a different part of the city with wonderful artwork. I just can't get enough of the artwork with this series. It's really cool. So here's 𝘼𝙬, and I mean, look at how fun the city looks, right? It's got pieces sort of floating in the middle of the air. And then, it comes all the way down into here. You've got this sort of crater-like area. And then it says, the cover, odd changes in the flow of essence pique the curiosity of an observant spirit. Their magic lens reveals the source, a massive house fire on the material plane. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. So the cover is, we're sort of peering through the lens of a spirit looking at a house fire on the material plane. I love that. So you get exploring the city, getting around, and dealing with the ethereal and crossing over and having adventures there. Then you get these urban spirits, and the ethereal realm is important. I mean, Radiant Citadel, the book for that, connects to the ethereal realm. Planescape is coming from Wizards of the Coast. So if you want to really explore various things involving the ethereal, I think this series from Beyond the Screen is going to give you that opportunity as well. And Arcane Punk is really cool. If you've seen things like, I would say Kaladesh from Magic the Gathering, that's kind of an Arcane Punk. So this is too. And here you get information about the city. So I'm just scrolling so you can see a quick look at it. They've got a newspaper. It says, new island to be lifted from the crater after several months without new development in the islands. Last night, a team of mainlanders finally discovered a rock fit to be lifted. This rock's not too shabby, says mining inspector Miro Barchak. After we chisel it right, it should have the surface area of just over 80,000 square feet, enough for a small neighborhood or trade center. We should be able to launch it in a couple weeks. Our sources claim several organizations have set their sights on this island at the time of publication. However, the deed has not been claimed. So things are periodically being lifted into the air, as we saw in that earlier map. So you've got some visitors. But in the world of Eleanor, where this city exists, Celavast, spirits are beings born of emotion. A child imagining fiends in their closest closet might create a spirit of fear. A city guard that resolutely defends an innocent bystander against a cutthroat thug could conjure a spirit of valor. Spirits exist in the ethereal plane, a fog-bound dimension that overlaps the material plane. Thus, spirits are normally invisible to other humanoids, but spells that allow creatures to gaze into the ethereal planes, like see invisibility, will reveal spirits in the area. Spirits feed on the same emotion that created them. For example, spirits of hope might dwell in a temple where people find strength in prayer. A spirit of fear could occupy a prison where people are being interrogated or tortured. Most spirits have one specific aspect that is associated with the emotion that created them. The most common are hope with life, despair with death, fear with darkness, etc. So Eleanor is a really fun world that Celavast exists in. And it says it's divided into two distinct areas, the islands and the crater. The islands is a three-dimensional archipelago of floating islands. And every island is unique in shape and size, but all have carefully been selected by Wander Rock engineers to maximize available building ground. Their formation is roughly diamond-shaped, with very few islands in the highest and lowest positions, and a great number that are level with the lip of the massive crater. So it's like anything, there's a political sort of structure, and so you're going to have more at the at the bottom than you do at the top, right? So you've got that to experience here as well. So you've got ethereal gardens, and it talks about how it's relatively quiet there and isolated, and it provides an opportunity to pause from the metropolitan pace of Celavast. Traditionally, these gardens are built atop small islands that are hundreds of feet away from other city blocks. This isolation is necessary for the materialization of spirits, which usually fade back into the ethereal plane in densely populated areas. Garden workers have to monitor the number of people on these islands to make sure that even weak spirits can be seen. So this is really like a society that lives in harmony with these spirits. And then there's a whole book on animariums that they put out too, which is a fun book. that you should check out as well. And so there's a little sidebar on that. But then it talks about some of the visitors to the park. So one is a group of dubious individuals have congregated in one of the park's corners, safe from scrying eyes under the blanket of sea invisibility. They seem to be in the midst of an argument about something, and several spirits of hate and fear fly around them like birds of prey. So yeah, your characters could investigate that, see what's going on, see if they pose a threat to 𝘭𝑚, or whatever cause you support. It says, violinist begins playing, gaining the attention of several passerby and 2 rainbow-colored spirits of wonder. So that could be fun to just have in the background, or to see what the violinist is up to in the town. So the 𝘭𝑚 Post is a newspaper. It says there are many branches of the 𝘭𝑚. The 𝘭𝑚 Post is like the mail delivery. There are many branches of the 𝘭𝑚 Post that offer a wide array of delivery services for the people of the city. A system of pneumatic tubes carries documents in small packages throughout the islands, but don't reach the crater. Processing and delivery for such mail costs 2 copper pieces and normally takes 2 to 3 days. So lots of detail. I really just think the city is so fun. You've got spellcasting services. Yeah, they've really fleshed it out, and the fact that they're producing multiple books, and you can just keep learning more and more about it. I remember the Broomwatch Academy, that one was really fun. The Animariums one was really fun. I keep adding them to my wish list. I need to buy some of them so I can read more, but they're just so cool. And I love the artwork, so I hope you're checking it out, getting into this really fun city, and it is in the links below under Streets Beyond the Veil. Give it a click. Next, we have To Be or Not to Be a Villain, an adventure for 5th edition by Rudy Basso and James Introcaso and Andrews McNeil Publishing. And it's $19.99 for 256 pages, 5th edition, also compatible with 𝘬𝙀. And if you're not familiar with the phrase "to be or not to be" is a quote from Hamlet by William Shakespeare. And what's exciting about this is it's an opportunity for people to explore Shakespeare through Dungeons and Dragons or 𝘬𝙀. And I love that because it is such an important part of history. Shakespeare is just so great. I studied Shakespeare quite a bit for my English degree, and some of the plays are just next level. They're just so good. And to see books like this come out where it can help people connect with Shakespeare, because Shakespeare can be a bit daunting. You got the iambic pentameter, this sort of strange speech, right? If you can allow yourself to get into it, you can connect and have a good time, but it can be a little bit of a barrier for people. So I think having a gateway like this, and even just a fun adventure, I mean, most people know roughly the story of Hamlet and some of the more popular plays, so being able to have this as a gateway to get in there and learn more about it. But it says, take on the role of a lifetime as one of the 9 nobles in this tabletop RPG retelling of Hamlet. In this adventure, players will cooperate and plot against one another for the throne of Denmark. Experience the world of Hamlet like never before in this unique game. For more than a century, Denmark has been at war with Norway, but after an uneasy ceasefire was brokered, old King Hamlet perished under mysterious circumstances. When a monarch dies without having officially named a successor, that leaves the kingdom to the noble council, and with it their vote for whom shall inherit the throne. Become General Claudius, Queen Gertrude, Polonia, Ophelia, Laertes, Horatio, Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, or even young Prince Hamlet. The book contains 2 adventures, one compatible with the 5th edition, and the other was 𝘬𝙀. So again, double value here. I love that. So let's look inside. So it lists the people that worked on this, of course, and then you get your Act 1 through Act 5 plus a conclusion. You get some pre-gen characters, which I think is also really smart in an adventure like this, because again, you might have barriers, you might have hesitancy with Shakespeare, but if you have pre-gen characters, that's easy. Oh, you don't need to roll a character here, I got one for you, right? Handouts, you've got a rumor deck, a bestiary, story tokens, and look at this artwork. So cool, so fun. So he talks about setup. So you'll need 2 game masters, 9 players, each controlling 1 player character, and a space with 2 rooms and 1 table in each, separate enough that talking in one room can't be heard in another. So that's also really interesting. You don't see a lot of these sort of dual table adventures. I think we've only ever had one, and we've covered on this show, because we're almost to our 100th episode, we have covered thousands of books, and we've only seen one other multi-table adventure. So very, very cool. I love that. That wasn't even in the catalog page, so I'm surprised, because a lot of this I read as I do the show. I don't, because I want you to hear my true reactions to stuff. That's awesome. All right, so you have to have 2 different rooms, and then you need the pre-generated characters. And you need those anyway, because I kind of misspoke earlier when I was talking about those, because you're not really creating characters, you're playing these characters from literature, right? So it's not like you can roll up a barbarian and put it in the middle of Hamlet, although that would be fun to see how that plays out. So then, of course, these are all the things you need. One is called the director, constantly runs the story in a way that the GM normally does. The director runs large group scenes, determines the beginning and ending of each act of the play, and ultimately has the final say in any disputed matter of the rules and story. The second GM is referred to as the playwright. The playwright runs side scenes with 1 or more player characters, while the director runs the larger group scenes. These side scenes could be dictated by the adventure, an optional scene chosen by the playwright, or a scene created as a result of character spending a story token. The director and playwright should get familiar with the entire adventure. During gameplay, the GMs should be in communication with each other about what is happening to help keep the story straight, preferably via electronic means or note passing, so their communication is hidden from other players. But I think, too, if you've got rooms that are far enough apart, they can meet in a hallway and whisper, maybe, as well. I think, too, this would be something great to record, like video, because if you're seeing only part of the game because you're at one table and then the other table is doing their thing, I'm sure it'll be a complete experience, whatever table you're at. But I think it'd be fun to, even if you're not planning to upload it or put it on Twitch or anything like that, I think it'd be fun to record it and let people see what happened afterwards at the other table. I think that could be really fun. And then you could even have a third GM, a stage manager, managing an RPG with 9 players, driving the story, forming alliances, and working against each other can be a complicated job for just 2 GMs. If you have 12 people who wish to participate in the adventure, the extra person could take on the role of the third GM, the stage manager. The stage manager travels between the director and playwright scenes and notes all the story threads. If you have the means for a third room, the stage manager can also run extra side scenes while the playwright runs one in the first side room. During the night phases, the stage manager meets with the director and playwright to recap the story so far and plan the next act of the story. If you are the stage manager, you should get familiar with the adventure just like the GMs. So it says, inspired by Hamlet. The setup of To Be or Not to Be a Villain is inspired by Hamlet. If your players and you don't know the play, fear not. It only inspires this adventure story, which is quite different from the original. There you go. Very good. So you're free to expand and have a barbarian, maybe, as an NPC, probably. If you are familiar with Hamlet, don't get hung up on that play being the story's inspiration. You can easily run or play this adventure without knowing a single bit of Hamlet lore and should leave behind what you know. Make it your own. Your players and you own this story. You aren't beholden to the story beats of Hamlet, nor are you beholden to any words or events in these pages. Do what is most fun for the group. So yeah, you need to explain that right up front to people, because there's some people that are super, super attached to the canon, right? The source material. So you want to make sure, beat that over the head of people and say, hey, leave that at the door. Yes, it's got names from Hamlet. Yes, it's got some elements from Hamlet, but this is its own thing. Consider it an alternate universe telling of Hamlet. It says, while the GMs control the NPCs and set up the scenes, the action or inaction of the story is driven by the characters. While the characters sometimes react to the world around them, the world should more often react to their actions. If a player wants their character to attempt a course of action that is bold, creative, foolhardy, cowardly, or otherwise interesting, allow it to happen. Every character has a starting goal on their sheet, but no rule states a character must keep this motivation. As they form alliances, connive against one another, and face the challenges the adventure has in store for them, characters may add or replace these goals with new ones. Character growth like this leads to fun. So very, very flexible. I love how flexible this is. And I think it's going to be really, really fun. Now let's read one last thing about this, and then I do want you to check it out. I mean, this thing is 256 pages, partly because you're getting the 2 versions, but still, that's a lot of material for you to comb through and enjoy creating this multi-table adventure. So it says this adventure subverts some of the typical assumptions that come with playing the world's most popular role-playing game. The players must use the pre-generated characters for this adventure instead of creating their own. While the characters may form alliances and work together, they are also just as likely to work against each other. In this adventure, lying, backstabbing, and murder among the characters isn't just expected, it's encouraged. This adventure doesn't feature many battles against epic creatures, noble quests, or treasure hunts, though there are a few. Instead, the story is one of personal stakes for each character. These stakes have decisions that affect the country of Denmark. Each time you run the adventure with a new group of players, a new story will emerge based on the unique course of action each character takes. It may end in a dramatic battle to the death with only one character or no characters left standing, a surprise team-up despite betrayals and grudges in which all the characters work together for the good of Denmark's people, or any result between these extremes. How fun is this? I mean, you get to, we've all seen those movies or read those novels where there's sort of this court and they're just backstabbing each other, clawing their way to the top, and it's just, those scenes that just leave you with your mouth on the floor. Because you're just like, oh, I can't believe they played that person. Even think about reality TV, right? We have these shows like Survivor and all that stuff where people backstab each other and they go to tribal council and, this person gets voted off, whatever. Like this kind of stuff is what you're going to get to play. You don't always get to do that in, a run-of-the-mill module. So I'm very excited by this. I think it could be so fun for people. I really hope everyone gives it a chance and tries it. And the team behind it, Rudy Basso and James Introcaso, I mean, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. It's going to be good. I want you to look for it in the video description links. It's under To Be or Not to Be a Villain. Give it a click. Next, we have the Tower of Jhedophar, or Jhedophar. I'm not sure how to say it, but it's got such a gorgeous cover. And it's by Casey W. Christopherson, and it's for 5th edition. And I just can't get over this. It looks so cool, this cover. And it is 26 pages from Frog God Games, $13.99. And it's so cool. It says a mysterious tower guards a wondrous staff. Once an academy of arcane learning, the Tower of Jhedophar now stands as a testament to the greed of 2 powerful foes. The tower is guarded by a massive labyrinth filled with deadly traps, vicious adversaries, and unlikely allies. Who among the brave may wrest the mandrake staff from the Jhedophar bony grasp? Remember, heroes, dragons, and liches do not let loose their treasures lightly. Wow, so you're going to deal with dragons, liches, a massive labyrinth, deadly traps. I mean, this is going to be a fun crawl, I think. And it says, the power of ancient foes collides. Will the adventurers take the dragon's deal and attempt to slay Jhedophar in his fortress of evil, or take the Lich's deal and rid his tower of the pesky squatter Exorcist once and for all? So that's cool that you have like really 2 paths, and so you could play it one way one time and then the other time. And it's for characters of 13 to 15th level, which is awesome. We don't see as many modules for higher levels. And it's got a mix of fast-paced action and clever role play, and it's playable in 2 to 4 game sessions with foes and allies that may make their presence felt in your campaign for years to come. So I love this, that you get 13 to 15th level, you get options that, really two different paths to go down. So your choices matter. You also can do it in 2 to 4 sessions, and then have some characters that are still around after that. So very cool. There are other versions for Pathfinder and Swords and Wizardry as well. So if you like this concept, notice that there's several others down there that you can also get to play with different systems. So let's look inside. So you got the different sections of the adventure, then you get some new magic and some new monsters as well. So she talks about finding your way around, the background, all that good stuff. Then it goes into the labyrinth, and oh, look at that. That map is cool. Lots of places to go and to wind your way around and find things. There's a spike trap, pit trap, 10-pin alley, the Rue Morgue's morgue. That's awesome. And Nazaw's chamber, lair of Externus, a gargoyle's lair. Cool. So yeah, let's just read a little bit. We'll try not to spoil too much because I want you guys to explore this on your own. So it says the characters may find their way to the Tower of Jhedophar by various routes. Since it has no set location, you may insert the tower into your campaign wherever you desire. It could be located in an evil city, in a ruin, on an island, in a lost jungle, wherever. So here's a few of the options, and they give you, it looks like 5 different hooks to bring your players in. And remember, with hooks, you can use multiple. You can have some players come in from one hook, some come from another, depending. I mean, this is higher level, so you might already have the team together. But anyway, you still might need a hook to bring them into the adventure. So it says, while traveling from one place to another, the characters discover they are passing close to the Tower of Jhedophar. Appropriate Arcana checks offer clues about the fall of Jhedophar and the possible secrets hidden within his tower. So yeah, that makes perfect sense why you would be interested. Villagers beseech the characters to seek out and destroy a dragon that is laired within the cursed tower. They tell of a band of heroes who went forth over a month ago to slay the dragon but never returned. So that could also be interesting. Discover what happened to those. A treasure map describes a fabulous magical item called the Mandrake's Staff and its supposed location in a place called the Tower of Jhedophar. And that's just 3. We just read 3 there. There's 5, so I'll let you read some of those. But it says the Labyrinth of Jhedophar was constructed to keep would-be thieves from bothering his delicate arcane studies. It serves as the lair to his undead minions and protectors such as 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙬𝙬 the 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙧, and 𝙬𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬 the Crypt Thing. The adult red dragon Externus also makes his home here. He is an uninvited squatter residing in the western side of the labyrinth. The characters must navigate this dangerous labyrinth to find the actual entrance to the Tower of Jhedophar, possibly enlisting the aid of the spirits and monsters within the labyrinth to accomplish their goal. Of course, we all know that's not going to happen, and the characters will instead crawl from this adventure covered in blood and gore. So it says, a broad disc-shaped structure girds the base of the Tower of Jhedophar. A pair of solid bronze doors 20 feet wide in the southern face of the tower appears to be the only entrance. Like the tower itself, the sides of the disc are as smooth as glass, affording no handholds. The entire surface of the central tower and the disc around its base give off a strange luminescence that seems to change with the play of light from the sun and moon. So yeah, you get a flavorful intro, and then it talks about how you can't climb without magical use. So you've got to do spider climb, or levitate or fly, to climb it if you want to. But I mean, there's so much to this. I mean, there's 26 pages for this adventure, and it looks like it's going to be full of fun, good stuff. We saw gargoyles. We saw, a Rue Morgue-like place. I mean, a labyrinth. And you've got a amazingly fun cover. So, Frog God Games is always doing good stuff. They've been around a long time. They've got lots of great titles. I just got one of theirs the other day, and so good. So you want to check it out. You want to add it to your collection, And spring this on your players. I mean, you're not going to find a lot of adventures for 13th to 15th levels. So if you've wanted to play in that area, why not grab this and have some fun exploring this tower? So check it out. It's in the links below under Tower of Jhedophar. Give it a click. Next, we have Weather Manager from Past Adventures. It is 108 pages, already a best copper seller, so it sold 51 plus copies in its first week. It's $3.95, normally $4.99, and that's for the PDF. You can also get a softcover standard color book for $11.95, or for 5 more cents, you can get both the PDF and the softcover book. So that's a pretty good price for that, especially for 108 pages. And it says weather is an important element in role-playing games. It can serve as atmosphere, providing the sensory experience of delicate snowfall or the bombastic background of a thunderstorm. But it can also be an important plot element, as it was for Bilbo and the dwarves outside Goblin Town, or for the Fellowship on Caradhras. And don't forget that Spanish Armada. Weather Manager provides a system and tables for generating Earth-like weather for a fantasy or science fiction world. There are 30 pages of background on weather systems and climate, written with world builders and game referees in mind. The remainder is dozens of tables for generating day-to-day weather in any Earth-like climate zone. Weather events are resolved with a limited number of die rolls and are systematically connected to previous and following weather events, creating somewhat more realistic periods of stability followed by sudden change. So this is system neutral, but it can work with Dungeons and Dragons, of course, and it is cool in the sense that, you know, a lot of systems like this, they just give you random weather, right? But what it's saying is that it has a way of connecting to what just happened and what happens next, so that the weather makes sense. Obviously, magic can change weather, but outside of that, there should be some normalcy to weather, in the sense that it should be predictable in some ways. It should follow some normal patterns, right? So it says using the weather tables. It says, you know, this is just kind of an excerpt in the middle of the book, so we're starting on page 28. Each period is assumed to be one 12-hour period, either day or night. Daylight or night varies with latitude and season. If no weather was determined for the previous period, roll 1d20. So again, it's talking about the previous period and connecting those two. And record the number and the listed temperature, cloud, wind, and precipitation result. Roll 1d6. Portent immediately. This determines any special weather events for the current weather results, as well as a prediction for the next weather period. The general nature of the portent, deteriorating, stable, or improving, can be determined by the characters in play as described below. For most portent rolls, a 1 to 2 means deteriorating conditions or a special weather event. 3 to 4 means stable conditions, and 5 to 6 means improving. If the portent result indicates a special weather event, follow the directions for the event. So I like this. Very simple system, but you still get that complexity of weather, which is nice. To determine the next period's weather, use the portent result. So stable, weather improves, and then it talks about what you do. So you roll a 1d6 and add the result to the current system to determine the numerical result for the next period. So it's chaining them together. So again, creating something that makes sense. And then, of course, as a GM, you can allow for disruption through magic or whatever. But outside of that, you would have a normal weather system emerging here. So weather deteriorates, roll 1d6 and subtract the result from the current result. And then, you know, there's even more, you know, if there's a star on it. If the D6 portent roll reveals a special weather event, something unusual for the climate zone, such as a cyclone, tornado, or rainstorm on the desert, the portent roll for the following period is 1d20. The next period will be predicted as an improvement, but any weather result is possible. So it says make a 1d20 roll to determine the initial weather result for the first period. Make a 1d6 roll to determine any special weather events important for the next period. And then you've got how to adjust it to 6-sided die if you need to. Forecasting importance during play. And then see all these charts, you know, polar latitude, what your portent roll is, what the temperature is, the clouds, the wind, precipitation, etc. So whatever climate you're in, it's here. So observable deteriorating portents, wind shifts towards the north or south and strengthens. Long cirrus clouds aloft announce an approaching front, like weather front, like a cold front. Deciduous tree leaves become limp and flip in the breeze. Decline in the sounds from insects. Birds suddenly and purposely fly downwind. So that would be deteriorating stuff. Observable improving portents, and I didn't read all of them. There's more. Wind shifts back to the prevailing direction and drops. Breaks of blue sky and otherwise stratus overcast. Small cumulus clouds that do not grow. Red sunset, prevailing westerlies or red sunrise. Birds begin returning. Insect sounds resumes or intensify, right? So it's helping you depict the weather changes too. So as they're walking, oh, you're noticing that birds are returning to the area, or, you know, the sounds of insects, you're hearing those again. You know, you weren't hearing those yesterday. And you can really make it realistic. Like, oh, okay, that's because we had those strong winds yesterday. And I think that's really cool, especially if you have maybe like some fantastical insects. So you can say, oh, you didn't see the whatever named magical creature yesterday, insect. Now you're hearing the sounds of it again today, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's so cheap. I mean, $3.95 for 100 pages, and then $12 to get it in print. I mean, I think this would be a good one to have in print as well. So great, useful stuff. So look for it in the links below under Weather Manager and give it a click. Well, that was our last new release for one of the sites. Before we move on to the second site, a few announcements for you. First of all, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment. All those things help us get the word out. More people find the videos and get to know about all these great releases if you can do that. And I'll respond to all comments personally. If you can click those links in the video description and support all these awesome creators that we featured this week, that really helps them. This business is tough, so you want to help encourage them to stay in it and creating these awesome titles for you to enjoy and bring to your table. And if you click any of those links and make a purchase, even if we didn't talk about it today, it's going to help support the channel through a small affiliate fee. So we really appreciate it when you do your shopping with us. That's awesome. And if you really want to take it to the next level to support us, you can purchase one of our books. You can go to splinterverse.com to read more about all of those, or click the links in the video description in the section we have on our books. And I'll just tell you about a few of them here now. So our latest one is the Dragonlance Companion. It's 180 pages for DMs and players to really get into Krynn. Everything from subclasses to races, including classic ones like Draconians and half-ogres and Thanoi, as well as 2 full-blown adventures, a tier 1 and a tier 2 that you can link together for a full campaign. We've got monsters, magic items, encounters, new types of items like legacy items, and even herald items that are connected to the gods, which we profile in massive detail so that you can use the piety system to really interact with the gods. So there's just so much to be found in there for Dragonlance and Krynn if you're into that, or if you want to take these things and put them in another setting, of course. And it's available in print as hardcover or digital, or you can get both for this combo price, where there's no extra charge for the digital. So that's always very cool. Then we've also got Swarms of the Multiverse, which is over 180 pages dedicated to brand new monsters that have some sort of connection to swarms, whether it's they form swarms, they summon swarms, or they control swarms. Each of the 70 new monsters in this book have some sort of connection, and we give them lots of space in the book. Each monster gets a minimum of 2 pages, so you get lots of lore, you get tactics, you get a playlist of the moves that they would use on their stat block. So if you want to quickly run it without reading too much, you can just go through the playlist. We've also got associated things like magic items that are connected to some of the creatures, demiplanes, full demiplanes that you can explore with some of these creatures as well. Then we've got rules for you to create your own swarms that are balanced for 5th edition, so that's really helpful. And then we have other types of swarms like environmental swarms that don't even have hit points, but are more like hazards or puzzles that your party will have to pass through on their way to whatever the next adventure is. So tons and tons of stuff to really bring swarms to life and help you make a swarm out of any creature, whether it's third party or an official Wizards release. You'll be able to confidently make those swarms using those balanced rules. And again, it's print or digital. Then we've also got our platinum bestsellers here with the Feywild Companion, which is over 150 pages devoted to the Feywild, the plane where everything is Fey, and it's really a fun place to explore. It's a little bit different than the material plane, so you can have a really unique experience that kind of turns things on its head. And this fits well with Wild Beyond the Witchlight or any other Fey experience that you want to have. It's got player subclasses, one for each class that connects to the Fae. It's got magic items, races, lineages. It's even got trinkets, a new type of item called Flowers of the Feywild, which is a new consumable that helps you really feel like you've gone to a fantastical place. But these flowers can be used as a consumable item or like an environmental hazard, which is fun. We got a brand new Domain of Delight with a beautifully illustrated map in the same style as the one in Wild Beyond the Witchlight for Prismeer. We've got full adventures, encounters, monsters. I mean, it's just jam-packed. VTT tokens, all that stuff if you buy the digital, but it's also available in print as well. So you're going to want to check that out. Then there's also our other platinum bestseller, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets. It's devoted to dragons. It's meant to tie into Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, but it can be used on its own. So you've got dragon-themed subclasses, one for each class. You've got trinkets. You've got magic items. You've got horde magic items, draconic gifts. So those things that are in Fizban's, we're expanding and giving you more. So you have more draconic gifts and more horde magic items. You get a brand new familiar, adventure hooks to tie everything together from the DM point of view, so you can make those subclasses NPCs or whatever you want to do. So it's really, really good. It's going to be a hardcover soon. So by the time you watch this, it might already be a hardcover. So you can get the hardcover and or the digital as well. Then we've got our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages, which is devoted to the new concept of lineages that was introduced in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. And it's really fun. It makes your race basically something very personal to you, because lineages are something that is sort of thrust upon your character. It's not how you were born. It's an experience that you've gone through, and it's changed you. And so these are very conflict-driven lineages suitable for any setting, not just Ravenloft. Got 4 of those in there. And then we've got optional rules on how to string those together, so you can go from one lineage to the next, or you can remove a lineage if there's some reason you want to go back to the original race, or just for story purposes you want to remove it. You have that option with this book. And then we've got Potions Unlocked, which is print or digital, and it's over 100 pages, and it's really devoted to taking potions, which are kind of a run-of-the-mill thing where you just say, oh, I'm going to take a healing potion, oh, I'm going to take a healing potion, and make them fun again. It's got optional rules for taste, smell, overdosing on these potions, how to craft the potions. Even with the 30 new potions in here with really cool artwork, we've gone and given you really in-depth origin stories for each of them that you can have a vendor relate to the players, or you can turn it into an encounter if you want to have the players be responsible for the creation of some of these potions. We even have potion themed locations, including a potion shop with 2 different stories and a whole set of maps, so you can go to each of the layers of the potion shop, different vendors that are profiled with full inventory lists, a school where you can learn to craft potions and experience various encounters and adventures. And then we've got magical plants and things that you can craft, harvest and craft your potions with. So tons and tons of stuff. The whole point of the Potions Unlocked, or any of the unlocked titles that we're going to do, is to really take something and take it to its limit, give you everything you could ever want, to be the authority on that topic almost, and just really deep dive. Our Swarms book is the same thing. It's anything you could ever want on Swarms. So if you're getting these books, we feel like you're going to have everything you could ever ask for that topic, and that's our goal for you, because we really want the money to go as far as it can, because we do try to keep our prices reasonable, and then by giving you everything we can, we're helping you have that for far into the future. You're going to have the ability to have potions or swarms or whatever our topic is come to your aid at your table. So we hope you'll support us and check out all these awesome titles. Feel free to ask questions in the comments or anywhere if you're interested and unsure. I'm always here to help you. But No matter what, I hope you're clicking links, supporting creators, whether it's us or the others out there, because this is an awesome industry. We're so proud to be part of the ttrpg space, and we appreciate you. So now let's move on to the other site and their new releases. First, from DM's Guild, we have 200 City Noncombat Encounters from Purple Bog Press, Jeremiah Leper, Duncan Thompson. It's 7 pages for $3. And it's got a bunch of non-combat encounters for city adventures and during urban downtime. You can meet guards at the gates, nobles at the docks, and mud that steals your shoes. Be entertained at the tavern, harassed by traders in the park, and chat with urchins in the streets and alleys. So there's all sorts of different types of tables, whether it's a wealthy area of the city or the docks or a green belt. There's tables for you. There's also bundles available, so you want to check those out as well to see if there's one that might have some other things you need in it before you make your purchase. But you can get to all of that through our link in the video description. Let's look inside. So as usual, they have some really nicely organized tables, making it really easy to see what's going on. So you've got City Streets by Night with a D20 table, and then you roll on that and figure out what you encounter, whether it's your characters or just something maybe behind the scenes. Maybe your characters are talking to somebody and you just say, while you're talking, you notice this sort of off in the distance. If you've ever read the Watchmen comic, one of the best things about that comic is you see things in the background happening, and so it makes it feel alive, which is really cool. So we'll just pretend to roll something on here. We'll pretend to roll a 2. It says a swarm of bats hangs oddly from an overhead sign depicting a symbol. So you could, your characters could investigate that, see why that's going on, or maybe it's just random. Maybe there is no meaning behind it. It's really up to you as the DM. But that sparks some ideas in my mind. Maybe there's a secret society meeting at this place, and maybe there's a lot of vampires there. Who knows, right? It's at night, it says, so that's good. And then you got City Streets by Day, so there's a bunch of things that you can encounter there, but we'll pretend to roll a 20 on this one, and it says, several cultists try to befriend the group over a few hours. Each has a quota to fulfill of people to bring to a big event in a special honor, or big event with a special visitor. So that's pretty cool. That could also tie into those bats, right? I know this one's during the day, but it could happen at night as well. So you get lots of options with these tables. You get the wealthy area, the poor area. So we're going to read one on each of these tables. So it says, a chariot thunders by, driven by a well-dressed berserker yelling insults. Who could that be? That could be maybe a member of that cult, or it could be maybe the most famous person in the city, or a rival adventurer. You've got a harmless shambling mound is a local celebrity cleaning up any waste. That's really cool. I love shambling mounds, and having that kind of wandering around cleaning up stuff. I mean, maybe the party's tempted to fight it at first, and then the local populace says no, it's good, leave it alone. So that could be interesting as well. You got the guild quarter. It says a group of tense guards is questioning people about the recent gravestone thefts. Rumors say kobolds are involved. So that could be an interesting thing to explore and investigate. It says a rebellious druid is giving a rousing speech to rowdy dock workers if you're looking for an adventure on the docks. And so then you've got the tavern, the green spaces, the vendors, and the city guard. Street sellers, gates and rumors. I mean, this thing is full of stuff. And it's only $3. So if you want to have all of this stuff just standing by, ready to go, when they ask you, oh, what else is going on? What do I see? I'm gonna do a perception check, and then they succeed on it, and you got to come up with something to say that they noticed about the poor area or the docks, right? So fun stuff as usual, and you can get it in a bundle with other similar titles for different environments. So you can have an assortment at your fingertips. So look for it in the links below. It's under 200 City Non-Combat Encounters. Give it a click. Next, we have Crafting and Companions, a 5e crafting supplement from Gregory Wunderlin and Daniel Yee. It's $19.95 for 112 pages. It says, ever wonder what your fighter does with those smith's tools? That longsword not feeling strong enough? Maybe you'd like to design your own poison or have a penchant for throwing exploding vials of lightning. With the rules contained herein, all that becomes possible and more. This resource contains a variety of crafting rules that allows you, the player, to construct your own gear, potions, and magic items from scratch, no longer relying on loot discovered and able to design that perfect item to fit all your builds. So you get a full in-depth system for constructing vehicles, companions. It says we try to create some interesting companion classes and mechanics to give you some additional options to your followers and your military building desires. And then the crafting system is easily replaced with pay X, get Y situation, offering you a host of new properties and abilities to still make your most ridiculous plate armor without the spreadsheets. So, whether you're into math or not, they've got options for you. So they're going from alchemy, constructs, culinary, enchanting, all the way down to wondrous items and weaving and leatherworking. So they're running the gamut of stuff here. Then they've got companion basics, companion classes like the acolyte, as well as subclasses for the acolyte. You've got a caster and subclasses, soldier and subclasses, wilder and subclasses, and then you get to vehicle crafting, weapons, locomotion, and vehicular combat. So this is a pretty diverse amount of things that is covering related to crafting. It's 112 pages, so that's quite a significant investment in that. And it says, global crafting rules. All crafting systems in this book use the same basic system of requiring tool or skill proficiency checks to hit certain values to create an object, vehicle, or construct. These difficulty checks take time and cost money, which is defaulted to gold, and once all these requirements are satisfied, it results in the production of a single item unless otherwise stated. There are many, many ways to augment these aspects. So while 5e does a magnificent job of presenting an easy-to-grasp version of D&D, in some cases it can lose the customization that complexity offers. And as always with ttrpgs, with complexity comes math. While we try to keep the number of crunching straightforward and easy, most of the time you're adding or subtracting single digits. To offer a scaling, robust system, there is an occasional necessary crunch. There are several math sucks sections throughout this book that offer alternatives to the crunch, and for those less familiar with equations, you can find a couple helpful suggestions on how to do the required math as well. So that's really cool. I like that because not everybody likes crunch, not everybody likes math, and so giving basically two ways to do everything is really cool. There's a crafting failure table on a 20 or more. It says all material is destroyed and lost. So that's an interesting handling of what happens if you don't do well. And then there's even more options for that. I think this is really fun. They're going through so much detail with all these pages. You've got alchemy, where they're going to do potions and concoctions like an acid flask or alchemist fire. So it's showing you what it adds you. So you add acidic. When a creature is hit with this flask, they have -2 on their next attack for 1 round, +4 DC. So it's kind of like a shopping list. So if it starts off with 1d6 damage, DC 10, cost 15 GP, and it takes 1 day, but then you decide, okay, I want to add damage, 1d6 damage to it, so it becomes 2d6 damage, then the DC goes to 13, and the cost goes to 30 GP from 15. So you're basically going through these lists and picking what you want, and then you bring that up there, and then the DC would involve whatever toolkit you have, or relevant skill check. Maybe you have a proficiency you're going to try to use. And then, it just continues like that. So you can see what it starts out. It's got sort of a default, and then you're building upon that by increasing the time, cost, DC, etc. So that's really easy. I mean, simple math, as they said. You're going from 50 GP to 75 GP. I mean, most people can handle that kind of crunch pretty easily. So you've got spell reproduction in here, healing, resistance, constructs, crafting rules, for those, and then controlling them as well. So not only do you craft these constructs, but then you get control over them. So they have some base stats, etc. So yeah, I really like this. I think it's versatile, and you know, it'd be easy to repeat this if there's maybe some kind of new type of crafting in your world that maybe isn't covered by this book. You could probably mimic this structure pretty easily. You could even just swap something out and say, okay, for healing, instead of 1d4 healing, it's going to be 1d4 damage, and you know, the DC is going to start at 5, the cost is going to start at 10, the day, you know, time is 1 day, and then you just replace all the stuff in here with damage or whatever, right? And just kind of use a similar shopping list of things that you want to change, and arrive at even something that's not even in this book. But it covers so many things, so I think that's really, really cool that it's this comprehensive. Yeah, so only $19.95. This can all be yours, and is under Crafting and Companions, and the link's below. Give it a click. Next, we have House Rule Roleplay to Rest by Scott Eubanks with a suggested price of $1 for the 3 pages. And it says, this rule will get your characters talking to one another in the small moments. The pause before the big battle or a mosquito-choked campsite in the jungle is low stakes, simple, and effective. There's also a variant rule called Murder Hobo Poison with mechanical incentives for a moment of good role-playing. So looking at this, the idea is that a lot of times when your party decides, or you know, you decide as DM that it's time for a short rest, long rest, it's just said, and then it's done, and then it's over. But the suggestion is that you have to roll and determine which one of the party's members is going to have to role play to initiate the rest. And it doesn't mean like role playing that you're rolling out some sort of betting and a 10, and you know, it's not that. It's having them answer a question or a prompt, and everybody getting to listen and enjoy it. And this is, I think, going to be really helpful, especially with groups that maybe are hesitant to get deep into the role playing. They're not much on the interaction. They're more on combat, and they're very much focused on that instead of that social interaction pillar. So it says, before characters can take a short or long rest, they pick a player to roll a 1d20 on the role play to rest table. The player who rolled can either tell the other character something about themselves or have their character ask another character to do so. Quite simply, the group role plays the prompt before they can rest. So on the d20 table, there's a number of options, but the first one is like, tell a story about one of your personality traits. So, you know, if you went through the process of picking a background, you're going to have that available to you. It says, what's the most important lesson you've learned? In character, of course. Since we've been traveling together, how have you changed? So these are great prompts that can be really interesting, and they're not going to take 20 minutes. I mean, maybe, I guess, if the other characters are interrupting or adding to the story, which is also fine if it takes 20 minutes. But I see this as like a 5-minute thing. You know, if somebody really needs to go to the bathroom, they can miss it. You know, it's not critical. You know, it's not like the plot is going to be, you know, the mystery is going to be unable to be solved if somebody misses this story. It's just a way to encourage that role playing. And it might be a good way, especially if you have new players that maybe don't even understand role playing, because they're not in the middle of combat necessarily doing this. And it could be just a really good way to introduce them to role playing and see what happens. You know, you don't have to keep using the system, or you can use it every other rest or only on long rests or whatever works for you. So look for it in the video description links under House Rule Roleplay to Rest and give it a click. Next we have The Mad Leper Presents The Surgeon by Leprous Harry, and it says it's a demented scientist with a medical malpractice. So it's free, 6 pages. It says surgery is a set of curative techniques which consists of applying a minimal amount of harm to a patient to save its life or treat medical conditions. This skill set is often called for when simple magic is insufficient and more advanced magic is prohibitively expensive or simply unavailable. There are some surgeons, however, who circumvent ethical dilemmas and Hippocratic oaths by attempting questionable experiments in search of scientific advancement and pursuit of discovery. You have become a mad scientist, an unethical doctor, using surgical grafting and magical lightning to further your hold over life and death. So, really interesting artificer subclass. So you can basically be Victor Frankenstein if you want to, or, you know, make up your own sort of mad scientist. So you get the introduction to the subclass here, but then there's also this cool surgery instruments, which is basically a toolkit, and talks about all the things in it, and then the DC to use and the duration. So even if you wanted to maybe use this as an NPC or a villain, you could have this be something that's there, like the surgery instruments. So that it just really feels like this is a truly somebody using instruments to do surgery, right? You got a stat block for a flesh monster that changes based on your proficiency bonus. You've got experimental crafting, which is the 5th level feature. We're going to look at some of the features in detail in a minute, but then you also get some infusions. It looks like there's 4 of those, including Iron Lung and Cloak of Insulation, and then 2 spells, Static Field and Arc Lightning. So those could be fun as well. But let's look at some of the features. So at 3rd level, you get Surgeon Spells, so that's some additional spells. And then when you adopt this specialization, you gain proficiency with the medicine skill if you don't already have it. You also gain proficiency with the surgery instruments, so that's the toolkit here. So yeah, you're going to need that. You're going to be making these flesh monsters. It says your medical pursuits and experiments with magical lightning have given you the ability to impart life to non-living matter. Using parts of dead humanoid bodies, you create your monster, a flesh golem with a mind of its own, but the desire to fulfill the will of its creator. And it gives you the rules for that, you know, how it shares your initiative, and, you know, if it's died, what you do to bring it back and all of that. Then you get to experimental crafting at 5th level. You push your French science into further reaches of ethical misconduct. You learn to craft implants or flesh of other types of creatures onto your monster, giving it additional capabilities. When you create your flesh monster or by operating on it as part of a long rest, you give it or replace a number of traits among the following list. So you can give it an extra pair of arms, so it can use these arms to manipulate an object, open or close a door or container, pick up or set down a tiny object, or wield a weapon that has a light property. And then it's got another head even. The flesh monster has advantage on perception checks and on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. And it goes all the way down to the toxic gut pouch. When subjected to piercing or slashing damage, the flesh monster can use this reaction to splash corrosive humors on a creature within 10 feet. The target must make a dex saving throw against your spell save DC, taking acid damage on a failed save or half as much on a success. And it can use this reaction a number of times equal to your int modifier. And then the last feature, I'm not reading everything because I want you to read some of this yourself, but you get to read the whole book. I mean, it is free after all. It says, in your quest to thwart death, you start experimenting on yourself. Your creature type becomes construct, meaning you don't need to breathe, eat, or drink, and you stop aging. Though you keep your original racial traits, your newfound deathless nature is apparent to anyone that looks from up close. You also gain the damage immunities and resistances of the flesh monster, as well as its aversion of fire, lightning absorption, and humanoid shape traits. So yeah, it's pretty powerful capstone, getting a lot of different abilities from this stat block. Yeah, it could be fun. Hey, you know, artificers, gotta love when we get new subclasses for those. We don't get those as often as other subclasses, and this one looks pretty fun. So check it out under Mad Leper Presents the Surgeon in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Recharge, Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen from Adam Hancock, $1.95 for 9 pages. And so we've talked about this series before, and the whole goal of it is to give recharge abilities to every creature. So if you need one, if you want to add one, if you want to mix it up, maybe you're playing the same adventure over and over and you need to just change it or you're going to lose your mind, You can add some recharge abilities. Maybe you just feel like something's weaker, so it needs more. Maybe you want to take one of these recharge abilities and add it to a totally different creature. I mean, you have so many options for just $1.95 to get access to all these. And again, it's part of a series, so there's all these other ones for all the other books. You know, if you have these other books, you can look at the bundle down here. There's one down here for 4 of the books that go together. So really fun stuff. I'm grateful this series exists, because you never know when an encounter is going to go in a way that you didn't intend. Maybe something is just not powerful enough, and so you can quickly slap on this recharged ability, and it's been designed for that creature most likely. So, you know, if you're playing recharge Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, then you need the recharge for that, right? Because you can just plop these things in there, and look, it goes through all of the creatures, not just the ones that are statted out in that book. It's all the creatures that are referenced from elsewhere. So, you know, the zombie is in the monster manual, but that's included here too, because Adam wants to make sure that you have everything you need. So quite a few, you know, everything from Acolyte all the way to Zombie, everything is covered here. You know, even Lord Soth has some new recharge abilities in here. So it talks about things. It says some recharge abilities have 2 or more parts. These abilities all have if then or on a hit then wording. The intent of these recharge abilities is that if the conditional part of the ability isn't met, then the rechargeable ability isn't expended from the creature and can try again on its next turn. So that's cool. That's good, because sometimes, you know, recharge abilities just ends up being a waste as well. So and it says don't use these rechargeable abilities as written for NPCs and other creatures that accompany the party on their adventures. Their recharge rate is too fast for an ally that's there for combat after combat. An NPC who recovers an expended ability so often would quickly outshine the heroes. If you do want an NPC or other creature to join the adventures, make their abilities recharge less frequently. So for example, if you have a recharge of 6, you would change it to recharges after a long rest for an NPC that's helping the party, which makes perfect sense. So you can make it take longer to recharge that ability. So like Adam said, it's not just overpowering everybody else and kind of taking the fun out of it, right? So you've got lots of options here. We're scrolling through, just looking at, here's some Draconians. We'll look at those in a minute. Flame Skull, Giant Octopus, Green Slod, Kinder Skirmisher, Lord Soth. They're all here. So let's look at the Draconians. So there's 4 different Draconians, starting with the Boz Draconian on a recharge of 5/6. Quick Disguise. The Draconian hastily creates a disguise for themselves. They must have access to an article of clothing or piece of fabric, a disguise kit, a prop, or other materials with which to create their disguise. Once they are disguised in this way, they affect a new personality and mannerisms. If a wary creature suspects something is amiss, the Draconian has advantage on any deception check they make to avoid detection. And then you've got the Sivak Draconian, Flyby Strike, recharge 5/6. The Draconian uses their multi-attack and then immediately flies out of an enemy's reach without provoking opportunity attacks. So yeah, these make sense. They fit the tone of each of these different Draconians, and they're easy to think through. And it's not like this is a 5-paragraph ability that you got to like memorize because you're looking at 2 different pages. And you could easily copy paste this out into your notes or whatever VTT you're using, right? So Adam makes this really easy to incorporate. So the Kinder Skirmisher has something called Lord Taunt. Recharge 6, the Kinder loudly launches a barrage of insults at a creature they can see within 60 feet of themselves. If the target can hear the Kinder, the target must succeed on a DC 12 wisdom saving throw, or all creatures within 20 feet of the Kinder have advantage on attack rolls against the target until the start of the Kinder's next turn. So very, very appropriate, and you could see a Kinder doing that. So that fits, and it's easy to add. And then let's see what Lord Soth's is, because Lord Soth is a big deal in this one, right? So you've got Cataclysmic Power, recharge 5 to 6. Each undead within 120 feet of Lord Soth, including himself, is wreathed in magical fire for 1 minute. At the start of each of a target's turns, each non-undead creature within 5 feet of it takes 7 fire damage, and flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried ignite. A non-undead creature that touches a target or hits it with a melee attack takes 7 fire damage. And you could reskin that and put it on a creature with a similar CR to Lord Soth. Maybe you're homebrewing a creature you want. So lots and lots of options for just $1.95. I mean, this is literally a list of abilities that you can put wherever. I mean, you got to be careful, make sure you're balancing. But maybe if you're in an encounter that is not going well and it's getting easily beaten, you could give it a recharge ability, whatever the enemy is. But again, I would look for CRs of the creatures. And one thing you might consider, Adam, if you're watching, is to add the CRs after the names, because then people using it for that purpose could find, a similar creature. Not that it's always going to match, but that could be helpful to see the CRs in here as well. But I love this series so much. I think it's one of the most valuable series that are out there on the DM's Guild, and very inexpensive. And you can get bundles to really fill up your collection, because then all you need is Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen plus the recharged, and you're good to go. But as I said, I could see plenty of uses for this series outside of the modules that they're connected to as well. So look for it in the video description links under recharged and give it a click. Next, we have Rivers of Pollin by Michael Newnham. It's a level 3 adventure for 3 to 6 players, and it's a suggested price of $0 on Pay What You Want, but it says all proceeds raised from this will be donated to the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. So hopefully folks will put some dollar amount in here and pay something. And it says this adventure includes custom stat blocks, hand-drawn illustrations, custom dungeon and map, unique mechanics and magic item, instructions on building a bee hotel. The characters have been summoned to Pollin, a dwarven industrial city which prides itself on innovation and invention. When the Honey River, which is the source of all the power in the city, runs dry, they call for the aid of adventurers. The characters are brought before the industrial minister as he needs their help to solve the issue and fix the problem. So, and there's even a little video you can watch on it at the bottom. So that's cool. The full preview isn't working, but we'll zoom in and see what we can read here. So it looks like it's 2 parts with a final encounter and a conclusion. And then at the end, there's a how to build a bee hotel, which I'm guessing is for real world use, because you can help bees by building those in your yard, but I'm not sure. We'll see if we can see that in the preview. But it goes through Goleg Hornbrack, the dwarven industrial minister. It says Goleg is a small stoic dwarf. He is well aged and has thick gray hair and a magnificent braided beard decorated with golden beads to keep it in place. Upon his bulbous nose, he wears red goggles encased in gold, which reflect the sunlight like gems and match the heavy-duty suit of armor shielding his rotund frame. The armor is technical and is built for purpose. On the left side of his head, where his hair is completely shaved, he has some dwarven runes tattooed on the side of it. And he's the industrial minister in Pollin, so important person there. It goes through entering the cave, and that's all we can see in the quick preview. So we'll read the flavor text here. It says the entrance to the cave is a large opening, round and smooth. It is clear that this entrance has been eroded by liquid over many years to form a smooth shape. Inside the opening is a large rocky cave with yellow honey-glazed rocks lining the walls. The floor is soft and smooth and has a slight sweet smell to it. When you step onto it, there are small cracks and crunches as the sugar breaks beneath your feet. There are many pathways and openings leading off from the main passageway. So you get the feeling you're kind of entering almost like a beehive with some of the smells and how well constructed this seems to be. So I think this could be really fun, and it could be a way to support bee conservation and even learn how to make a bee hotel. I do hope you check it out and put some monetary amounts in there so that you can support that charitable cause. And look for it in the video description links. It's under Rivers of Pollin, and give it a click. Next, we have 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙎𝙤 𝙤𝙤 a 𝘽𝙤𝙤 adventure by Darren Ruckle. It's for level 8 players. It's $2 for 11 pages. And it says, 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤 𝙤𝙤𝙤 of 𝙤𝙤𝙘 requests the aid of the adventurers to assist his daughter 𝘏𝙤𝙤 on her quest to obtain a hair from a unicorn's mane. The journey takes the party through treacherous forests where they must fend off dangerous creatures and fend for themselves. Along the way, they encounter allies, foes, and unexpected challenges. Will they succeed in helping 𝘏𝙤𝙤 obtain the unicorn hair and earn the favor of the Jarl, or will they fall victim to the dangers that lie ahead? And you can get it as part of a bundle too, with, it looks like 4 different adventures. So I would check that out as well. You can click the link in the video description to get to Unicorn Hair Quest and then check out the bundle too. But really nice, beautiful map right in the beginning of the book, which is helpful. This is Forgotten Realms, so it's nice to be able to explore further. You've got the Moonshae Isles, and it talks about running the adventure and how it begins, and we'll read some of this in a minute. But lots of flavor text, which is always helpful as a DM. You can choose to paraphrase that or read it as is, or not even read it. Make up your own thing to describe what's happening. But it's nice to give you that option, and I'm seeing a good deal of that in here. And sometimes you just don't get that much of it, so it's really cool. So it says, as you enter the throne room of High King Dared Kendrick, you feel a sense of awe wash over you. The room is filled with fine tapestries, ornate chairs, and a large throne upon which High King sits. He greets you warmly and invites you to sit before him. Thank you for coming, my friends, he says. I have a task for you that I believe will aid us greatly in our quest to reunify Aleron under one banner. He continues, I need you to travel north to Gnarlhelm and deliver a message to Jarl Ulf Helmundson. It is imperative that we solidify our alliance with the people of Gnarlhelm, and your presence and aid will greatly assist us in achieving that goal. He hands you a sealed scroll and continues, I trust that you will handle this task with the utmost care and diligence, and of course, I will make it worth your while. You have my gratitude and my full support in this endeavor. So it very much sounds like a king, right? A High King. And then you've got the High King Road, and then Blackstone, Rocky Road, and the cairn of Cyrmrich Hui. So as you approach the cairn of Cyrmrich Hui, you see a massive figure towering over the burial site. It stands at least 25 feet tall with broad shoulders and rippling muscles. Its skin is a deep blue, and long white hair flows down its back like a waterfall. The giant is dressed in a simple tunic and leggings and holds a massive sword in one hand. As you draw nearer, the giant turns to face you with piercing blue eyes, and you feel a sense of awe and respect in its presence. So interesting, they're going to be dealing with a storm giant and encountering that. I mean, like I said, lots of flavor text in here, which helps you set that mood and get the characters going. And I just love that the overall goal is to get that unicorn hair, because unicorn is kind of almost synonymous with fantasy, especially fairy tale fantasy. So to see it be more involved in D&D is always exciting, because it's just connecting to something that's been with us for a long time, because as children we hear about unicorns, right? So check it out. It's under Unicorn Hair Quest in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Weapon of Choice, Feats for Every Weapon by Spiros K. And it says, make each weapon feel unique and useful in your campaign with these new weapon-specific feats. So it's $4.99. And it says, what is your weapon of choice, brave adventurer? Are you going to use a dagger concealed from your enemies and coated with deadly poison, or are you going to grab your warhammer to pulverize your meek foes? Do you maybe prefer loading your heavy crossbow to attack enemies from far, or hide behind a shield throwing sling bullets to your enemies? So lots of options, but in this book you will find a feat, in some cases two, for every weapon in the player's handbook for the 5th edition. These feats aim to differentiate every weapon, making it feel unique and flavorful. Finally, they allow the players to take new actions that provoke tactical thinking and positioning depending on the weapon they wield. So that's great because, you want options. You want to be able to think strategically. Okay, should I use this option or that option? And a lot of weapons only have one way to be used, right? So when you can get some options like this with feats, it's really cool. And look at how nice the layout is. So very, very cool. And we haven't even looked inside yet. So it goes through the simple weapons first, then it goes through all the martial weapons. So again, every single one in the player's handbook is getting attention here. So it talks about how to use it. It says the book contains weapon feats that cover all the weapons. There are 2 ways you can use it. Normal mode. Each time a character gains the ability to score improvement feature, can instead choose to pick one of the feats presented in this book. The only prerequisite is that the character must be proficient to the weapon that the feat is based on. This mode will probably not change the balance of your game, but will allow characters to focus on a specific weapon, making him feel the master of his weapon of choice. Another option is generous mode. During the character creations, if your class gives proficiency in all simple weapons, you may pick a simple weapon of choice and gain a feat associated with it presented in this book. Alternatively, if you have proficiency in all simple and martial weapons, you may gain any feat presented in this book. If at any point your character acquires proficiency to all simple or martial weapons at later levels, you can gain the feat then, right? So lots of different ways, and then they talk about their design philosophy here, how it works. So that's good because you might have another weapon that's not in the player's handbook that you want to apply similar thinking to when you homebrew. And so I like that they're giving you their philosophy so you can replicate those ideas. So you've got dagger, knife thrower, great club stuff, javelin. I mean, just everything is covered in here. But let's look at dagger because dagger is a pretty common thing to see, right? It says dagger deftness. You have trained numerous times with daggers, allowing you to utilize them in unforeseeable ways. You gain the following benefits: sharp knives. When you make a weapon attack using a dagger, it scores a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. So that's helpful. Counter grapple. You have advantage on attacks using a dagger against creatures that grapple you. Expert poisoner. You can coat a dagger with poison as part of the attack you make with it. Stashed weapon. You can hide up to 2 daggers in your clothing, appearing unarmed. Well, these are the only weapons in your possession. A creature can only detect the daggers by succeeding on an investigation check contested by your sleight of hand or deception check. And you get to choose which one. So you see, those are some cool options, and they're not like earth-shattering, game-breaking options, right? They make sense. They dovetail nicely with the weapon itself, so you could understand why somebody who has a dagger, if they have done some work to get good at using it, would have some of these skills, right? So I love it. Looks really cool. Let's scroll down and find some other things to cover. But yeah, some really nice artwork and layout here as well. So you've got the martial weapons in chapter 2. So let's pick one of those to read as well. So the Great Axe. Executioner. You have trained extensively with the Great Axe, honing your skills to deliver devastating strikes. You gain the following benefits: impactful hit. Once per turn, when you make an attack with advantage using your Great Axe, you can re-roll one of the attack's damage dice. You must use the new roll. So that's kind of cool. So you're getting advantage initially, and then once you hit, hopefully because you had advantage, then you can re-roll one of the damage die. And then that way you can improve it there as well. And then you got the brutal critical. You can roll 1 additional weapon damage die when determining the extra damage for a critical hit with a melee attack. So you get additional damage die. That's nice. Lacerate. You may launch a strong strike that rips through your opponent's flesh and leaves them with sharp, deep wounds that are hard to treat. When you successfully hit a creature with a Great Axe, you can make the attack deal an additional 1d6 necrotic damage. Additionally, the creature struck by that attack can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. You can use this ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses back in a long rest. So nice, you're making it harder to heal. You're doing additional damage, and that fits very well with necromancy, because necromancy often drains health from creatures to as part of dealing damage, and then it gives it that kind of feel of dark magic, right? So I like the flavor of that one. Very, very cool. And I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but there's a ton that you can read here. You get to see 15 of the 24 pages. So, over half the book is on display here with the gorgeous artwork. So you can really get into it. And I mean, the book is only $4.99, and it covers every weapon. I mean, there's really no reason not to get this. If you have a party that you think could really take advantage of this, maybe you have some people that really love playing the martial classes, and they would just have a ball with this. I think it gives them really meaningful choices, which is important, because some feats are just more flavor than anything. This is really meaningful. It makes sense why these feats would do that. And I'll say, as a writer, to get to that point, that means the designers had to sit there and think through it, because that doesn't always come out automatically. It doesn't always come out automatically as fitting appropriately with the weapon, right? You got to think through it. You got to spend time on it to really, if you set that bar for yourself, if you say every single part of this feat really needs to connect to the weapon, it needs to make sense in a real world concept of what this dagger or this great axe or whatever could really do, and what you would really think about using it for. That's like you're giving yourself some criteria to meet, like you're being your own boss. So that takes some dedication as a writer. So very, very cool. Check it out. It's your weapon of choice. Feats for every weapon in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Wonders of the Great Scribes, epic magic items pulled from the pages of literature by Smiling Orc. Suggested price of $2 for 34 pages. It says magic items have always held a special place in the hearts of adventurers. From enchanted swords to powerful rings, these mystical items have the ability to turn the tide of battle and grant incredible abilities to those who wield them. But where do these items come from? Many of them are inspired by the magical artifacts found in the pages of our favorite fantasy novels. It says the creation of magic items is an essential aspect of the fantasy genre, as they add depth and intrigue to the world building of a story. From Tolkien's Bilbo possessing the One Ring to Moorcock's Elric wielding Stormbringer, items capture our imaginations and transport us to a world filled with wonder and magic. They often hold a great deal of power, and the story often centers around the quest to obtain, master, or destroy them. So, 60 new items in here that are pulled from literature. So if you are a fan of literature, especially classic literature, fantasy literature, you're going to enjoy this quite a bit, because it's got a lot of things for you. So featured authors, everyone from L. Frank Baum, Lewis Carroll, Robert E. Howard, Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, Alice Norton. I mean, a bunch of authors. And then you get all these magic items. I mean, over 60 of them. Like the Star Hunter's armor, and the Sacknoth, and the Ring of Thoth Amon, and the Horn of Dagoth, and the Crown of Souls, Mad Hatter's hat even, and a magic flower pot. So lots and lots of stuff, and it talks about drawing inspiration from the books, and then gives you information on the authors. I think this could be so much fun. We're only getting to see part of one item and a full item of another, but that's okay. We'll read those. And, it's a suggested price of $2. So you could pay $0, check it out, download it, and then come back and pay the $2 if you plan to use it, or more. I definitely encourage you to support the creators on DM's Guild. So Amulet of the Vulture, rare item, wondrous item, amulet. The amulet requires attunement. To attune to this amulet, we must wear it for 24 hours and complete a ritual involving the sacrifice of a small animal to the vulture god. This amulet is made of a dull black material and features a vulture's head with outstretched wings. While wearing the amulet, the wearer is bestowed with a vulture companion and gains the ability to see through its eyes 3 times per day. The vulture must be within 1 mile of the wearer. The ability to see lasts for 3d10 minutes. Additionally, the wearer gains advantage on all survival checks made to track prey or navigate while in the wilderness. And then the final paragraph gives you kind of insight into where this came from. So it says the amulet is inspired by Robert E. Howard's The Vultures. in the story, Conan is captured by the Picts and is being prepared for sacrifice to the vulture god. One of the Picts wears an amulet featuring a vulture's head and is able to communicate with the vulture god through the eyes of a nearby bird. The amulet also enhances the wearer's tracking abilities in the wilderness. So it perfectly aligns, the design of this item with that historical story representation. So fun stuff. Great way to learn about authors too. If you have a child that's reading a lot of classic fantasy, this could be a way to bridge the gap between, the books that they're reading and the gaming table if you're playing together, D&D, or vice versa. You could start with, the D&D and they say, oh, I really love this item. And was like, hey, did you know that came from a Conan story? Do you want to read the story? Lots of ways to go back and forth between these things, and you might even inspire you to create some of your own items based on literature. But I'm just happy that there's so many in here for a suggested price. So 60 items. That's really, really cool. So you need to check it out. It's under Wonders of the Great Scribes in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that's the last new release for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Share the video with your friends on social media. The more eyeballs we can get on this to help people learn about these third-party creators would be great. And, like the video for the algorithm. Leave me a comment. I'll respond to all comments personally. And, click those links, support those creators. And if you purchase anything after you've clicked those links, you're going to also support the channel through a small affiliate fee. Whether we talked about that book that you purchased or not, as long as you've clicked that link, it's going to help us. So if you could remember to click one of our links before you do your shopping, that's always appreciated. And remember, the GM's Day sale is going on right now. I'm not sure how much longer it lasts. It might be today that it ends, the day that I'm recording. So I can't promise it'll still be live when this airs, but you can check, even if it's not. Hopefully you'll do some shopping. And if you really want to go the extra mile and support us, we do have 7 books, including our latest releases, Dragonlance Companion or Swarms of the Multiverse, that you can check out. We are working on a massive Kickstarter, going to be the biggest book we ever did. It's actually going to be 2 books in one Kickstarter, and you are not going to want to miss it. It's going to shake the ground of everything. For all your campaigns and everything you're doing, I think you can use this book. So I can't wait to tell you more about it. So make sure you're following us everywhere at Splinterverse, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, so that when we start unrolling that, you can be there day one to help us get that project funded, because I really want to bring that to life for you. So thanks again for watching. For creators watching, we've been talking about each episode, what type of business you want to have. And I really think you need to think about what you want to name your business. If you're going to do this either as a side business or a full-time business, think about what you're going to name it. Pick something that if you Google it doesn't come up with a million things. Like if I just decided to call a business The Park, well, if you Google The Park, it's going to show you a nearby park. It's going to show you all these things, right? Maybe if I add a weird spelling to it, that might work. But I would really advise you to keep thinking of names until you find one that you Google and there's next to nothing. And then once you've done that, buy the .com. Again, if you're investing in your business, if you're just doing it as a hobby, you don't need to go this far. Just use your name for the hobby. And then try to get the name everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places, so that you have that consistency across all the platforms. That's also really important in building a business. It makes it easy for people to find you, because they're going to try whatever your name is first. And if they don't find you, then they might try some other things, but there's no guarantee. So that consistency is really important. So that's my tip for this week. More next week, so stay tuned. And thank you all for watching, creator and player, DM, whatever your role and connection is to TTRPGs. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here with me. And again, thanks for watching. And until next time, happy adventuring.